All right, we are live with my good friend and business coach, Rich Cooper. How's it going, Rich?
Hello.
Where you're over there in Bomber Command, you got your the war room there for where you talk to all of us minions trying to make our dent in the universe.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I'll give it a few minutes. People are kind of logging in. I just threw the announcement on all the social media and everything, but
hmm
yeah. So we got this really reason for having you on today is to talk about your new course, which I'm happy to talk about and promote because you've been my business coach really since before I started Apex Mindset. So
Yeah. It's been a while.
um, yeah. So it's I'm happy to endorse it because it's your advice and help has worked really well for me, and guys who are on that path. I mean, I really think that they could benefit from what you have to tell them. But why don't you maybe talk a little bit about what inspired going the course route and deciding to kind of open this up?
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good question.
yeah.
Look, making money is important, right? And we live in an environment today where that's kind of harder than ever because, I mean, like right now we've got inflation at crazy numbers, and I guarantee not everybody's had a raise that's matched the inflation rate. You got wokeness in corporate culture, and I have a lot of complaints from guys. I'm sure you've talked to guys in your group as well too, where they're like, "Well, we had Chris like over the weekend. I don't know if you were there when he was telling me about the bait and switch job that his company did, but they basically set him up for like a meeting, but they didn't tell him what it was, and it was like
Hmm.
some like I support the current thing beyond that with rainbows and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot of guys have hit me up over the years saying, "Hey man, like I want to start a business. I don't want to keep like working for the man. I keep bumping my head up against a glass ceiling." And then the other group that I hear from a lot is guys that are like, "I'm running a business, but I don't really like it. Like it's not profitable." And like the first
Hmm.
question I ask them is, "How much do you do in an annual sales?" And it's always less than $1 million.
Oh yeah.
So they've structured something that's not serving them. It's not profitable. It's annoying. They're exposing themselves to more risk. And I really just designed this course to deal with those two big issues for people. Because, I mean, if you can make bank, you can solve a lot of your reproductive problems. I know you talk a lot about that on your channel when it comes to, women and
Yeah.
frame and all that sort of stuff. Your life's changed dramatically since I met you a few years ago. Like I remember you
Yeah.
used to call in on the before the train wreck, and I remember Sean used to make fun of you because you were like kind of in like a closet or a basement or something, or sometimes in your car. Remember those
Yeah.
days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it was a
So
nomad. It was in transient. Well, a lot of that too is military stuff, and then I mean, I had a storage one day. I realized what time it was, and I knew I wanted to get on the show, so I
yeah.
jumped in, set myself up, and I was in a storage facility area, like a
hmm
place that I had paid for storage, and it's just all this crap everywhere. Because when you live like a nomad, and go off to military training, like you pare down your stuff and you keep stuff, and yeah, so it looked like just a basement of crap because it's literally where I was, and
100%.
yeah, it
How
was
much has your life
totally.
changed since you like started to like dive into YouTube and all the stuff that you do? Like now that money's come with it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like I couldn't. It's incredible. Because I'm doing what I want to do and what I'm supposed to do. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. And it's I have the means to scale that and the ability to do that. And that was something jump. So I jumped into your 1% group because of entrepreneurship more than
hmm
anything else. And then we got to know each other, and I'm friends with guys in the group. We're friends. All that good stuff happens. But like, I wasn't a lot of guys at the time. I think it was like 2017 or ish or whatever. We're getting in to figure out the girl problems. They're getting into like red pill stuff, and you're kind of a sane voice. All the insane voices out there, to
Still
talk
am.
about that stuff. Still are, right? Exactly. So guys would jump in for that, but I already had like the get the girl things down to a point where my problem was not harming myself by getting too many of the girls and dicking around too much.
hmm
I knew I needed to get onto the entrepreneurial track, and I liked a lot of what you had said in videos. So I'm like, you know what? I don't have a group near me. I had business groups, but they were all very plugged in.
hmm
They weren't thinking outside of the box. It was like mortgage people, real estate people, chamber of commerce people,
Hmm.
and you would show up to these things, and it was all of this very everyone's wearing a mask and putting kind of a presentation out there of what, you know what I mean, of like what
Yeah.
they think other people want them to think, and they're not really giving you the scoop on how to do life. And then I'm looking at these people, I'm like, dude, I don't really want to live life like how they do it either,
Mm.
you know. And so I'm like, there's got to
That's
be
a
a
big
better
question you
way.
always got to ask yourself, right? Is, would I want to trade places with this guy?
Exactly. And the answer, of course, is no. That was one of the things you had said, I think, in one of your videos. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to trade places with these people. And it's not even so much like I would necessarily fully trade places, but my lifestyle, though, should be a lot different than what it is. And I was working a hard business, a half business from the acronym
Yeah,
with
explain
real
it to
estate.
guys watching because that's a really interesting acronym.
Yeah, yeah. So the half business, I'm going to kind of screw up that part of the acronym but I had to look it up
Half
when
is
I
hard,
posted.
annoying, lame, frustrating. Yeah.
There we are. Yeah, and so I got into, you're always into somebody else's programming, sort of that. And when I get into real estate, I have brokers and I have real estate coach types who their goal is to line their pockets.
Hmm.
And so they're going to tell me the things that may help me be successful, but it's going to be within the box or paradigm that's going to help them out, maybe more so than it's going to help me out. So, yeah, I got coaching on how to build a real estate business, but a lot of it was grinding it out, working 90 hours a week, and having a sunk cost for my time. So the way real estate is, it doesn't have to be this way, but the model is I'm working with all these clients, but the longer that I work with a client, the less my hourly time is worth. If that makes any
Right.
sense. If I don't, yeah, yeah. And so it was this thing where you can't scale at all.
That's exactly the point. It's one of the things I talk about in one of the modules too. In the lectures is, I mean, if you're going to build a business, why would you you basically going to use the same amount of energy dealing with a bad business as you will a good business, believe it or not. And you can't scale something where you're trading time for money,
Right.
right? That's
Right.
like anything, lawyer, doctor, you're a trades guy. You can make a lot of money. I mean, you can make half mil, $700,000 a year sort of thing, but it's not scalable and you're never going to make money while you're sleeping.
Right. And that was a big difference, a big paradigm shift for me was realizing that I created, and what you had illustrated to me in one of our sessions, that I created a job. I created a job for myself
Hmm.
where I was the employee to the thing I created, and I was, and a bad employee
Yeah.
for that matter to a bad boss, which is myself. It was like a terrible paradigm, really. But that was the model that I had been exposed to and had been promoted, to do. And it goes, another thing what have you talk more about too is the idea of thinking big, because I was thinking, oh, if I could just make six figures, I'm going to be okay. It was like that was my mindset, and I
It's the
made
same,
that.
by the way, it's the same
Yeah,
like scarcity mindset that guys use when they're like, if I can just get her to touch my pee pee, right?
yeah.
Then like that'll be enough sort of thing. And it's like, okay,
I got a girl.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right. But I mean, they're like with life as a guy, believe it or not, fellas, I mean, you have a lot of runway to create and design something that is going to serve you better, right? You can have better relationships if you structure your life in such a way and set proper boundaries. It's the same thing with business. I mean, I've unplugged you. I mean, if you've read my book, the Unplugged Alpha, I've unplugged
yeah.
you on, understanding the dynamics between attraction, with men and women. That's what I've done with this course is I'm cutting through all the bullshit and getting right to the point of what the best do and absolutely do not do.
Right. No, 100%. That's why I'm really excited that you are putting this out for people, because that was the paradigm that I needed to have, that paradigm shift in my head. I needed to see a different way of thinking so I could approach different business in a different way. And now I'm impacting people in a more meaningful way at a much bigger scale. And it's only really in the beginning of it. And in fact, my marketing has not been like I'm talking about. I'm working my marketing and my branding out right now. My marketing hasn't been sweet. It's just the value that I'm putting out to people has been what's been scaling things. And again, it's something that's scalable. And for me, what I'm doing with Apex Mindset It
Mm-hmm.
scales into groups, courses, things where I can reach more and more people versus like when I was doing real estate, my value was helping them with the transaction on a house. And the longer I spend with somebody, the less, money per hour I'm worth essentially. But it takes me 4 months to get a transaction closed. I mean, sometimes you work on with these people, you're literally working McDonald's wages for some of these people
Do you know who
because,
do you know
yeah,
who Graham Stephan is?
it's a familiar name,
He
but
does he does YouTube videos on finance, right? And he used to be in real estate. There's a TV show on Netflix called Selling Sunset,
mm.
and it's all
Oh
those.
yeah,
You've probably seen it. It's those thoughts
my
running around. You
dude, my
know,
chick just was watching this last night and was like
it's
laughing. I'm just like, oh god, okay,
yeah,
what's
dude. Like I was
going
watching it with my
on
kid.
right
I'm
now?
like, this is how you don't behave as a woman, by the way. You know, when you get older. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he used to work for the Oppenheim Group, and a few years
Ah,
ago, he started doing YouTube videos, and he was, selling real estate and doing videos. And he came to realize that he could make a lot more money building an audience and solving problems in the financial space. It's also got a very high, I think it's CPV on YouTube is what it's called,
mm,
meaning like he makes a lot of money or a lot more money than others in other spaces. Like the prank videos, for example, have a very low rate. Anyway, so he stopped doing real estate once he got his channel running. And it's like, he came to realize, well, I can make money while I'm asleep. I can, put an affiliate link in my video and somebody could watch that on the other side of the world and enroll in Robinhood or whatever it is that he's talking about at the time. So, yeah,
yeah,
like there's two ways that you can structure your life as a guy. And it's like, you can build something that's hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. And by the way, this isn't my term. This is something I got from Joe Polish over a decade ago. He had a great podcast. He still runs it called I Love Marketing. You can check it out if you want to learn more from the marketing perspective. And then there's the other side of the equation, which is easy, lucrative, and fun. And
yeah.
I want to design my life in business and personally in such a way that should be easy, lucrative, and fun. And I think that guys should consider that as they're designing their own lives too, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, and it's what's interesting too. It's like if there's, I noticed with you and with a lot of the guys like in your 1% group too, it was an idea that I needed to really adopt because you guys don't, you and some of the guys are doing very well. You don't sell yourself short on your time for your investment.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not going to be a high ROI, you're not wasting your time with it,
Mm-hmm.
and this gives you more time with your kids, your chicks, your family, your friends, working on the things that, and even working on your business to make more valuable, better products and get better outcomes. And I used to be being a very loyal kind of a person, which is a good trait to have. I would find myself getting involved into low ROI activities that would suck my time away, because of a
Do you think
sense of
that's part of the
duty or
conditioning from being, in the military
yes.
because of sense of duty?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like,
yeah,
throw myself
absolutely.
under the bus because I said so, sort of thing.
Right. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're used to sucking in order to get an outcome. You're like, oh, well, then I'll just suck through this and I'll be fine. And it's like, it's a good trait being able to sort of embrace the suck and not bitch and complain and,
Determination
being
is
resilient.
absolutely a very useful personality trait. Yeah.
Yeah. So that part's good, but you have to temper it with seeing the value of your time and effort and energy. Like I'm looking at what I actually do with guys and some of the effects. And every now and then I'll get like a light bulb on it. I'm sure you get this too when a guy does a testimonial. And
Hmm.
you're like, damn, I like changed this whole dude's whole life out. That's so incredibly valuable that I need to protect that and put a reasonable price tag on it and not waste my time doing some other activity in business that's just going to not give me a return on my investment because
Hmm.
that's time I'm not spending making that serious impact. And that was something that I noticed, like you won't, hey, if this isn't going to net a certain amount of cash, I'm not dicking with it. And it's like I have so much respect for that. I'm like, yeah, I need to do that more and say no more. That's an interesting thing,
It's
you
just
know?
boundary enforcement, the same boundary
Yeah,
enforcement that you use when dealing with women. You need to
right.
use it in your personal life. You need to use it when dealing with friends. You need to use it when dealing with business and how you structure your business and how you make money and how you create your wealth. Yeah, like this is like the whole red pill thing being so laser focused on just chasing tail. If you just take off the blinders off the horse, for example, and give it
Yeah.
its full scope of view, and then you start applying it to different areas of your life, you see how good it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And that's what was you kind of were red pilling me more or less with business, right?
Yeah.
I knew about the chick stuff. In fact, I was a primary and still can be sometimes a writer when guys have problems with women. I'll chime in, right, and help them
Hmm.
out, but in the group. But yeah, with the entrepreneurship, it was interesting because I had built a real estate team with a partner, and built up a decent real estate business. I mean, people would look at me and go, "Yeah, he's does a good work. He does a good job, right, or whatever." And he's one of the top. He's in that top 5% of the state of Michigan, right? But it's like it was garbage. It wasn't, as far as a business model for myself, it wasn't allowing me to really scale success, and it just opened my eyes, like I said, to seeing the value of your time and being able to scale it,
Hmm.
and being able to protect that, being able to say no. I mean, that's so important. But I'll pivot here to a question. What challenges do you run into when you coach guys at various different levels? What are some of the common things that you see?
When it comes to business
Uh-huh.
specifically, we're talking about guys that have like ego invested into something that doesn't serve them whatsoever. Like I'll give you a good example. I had this call once with a guy who had a men's jewelry business. So rings, bracelets, necklaces, leather shit, trinkets and stuff like that. And he would use Amazon as a fulfillment center, like FBA, and he also had a Shopify store. And he structured this business in such a way that after about 20 minutes of talking to him, basically he wasn't making enough profit. He had all kinds of issues with the physical products, which you'll always run into. I have at least one module in my course where I talk about the kind of business that you want to structure. And if you have to ship anything in the mail, it gets lost. It can, the guy may not be there when delivery happens. It can be stolen. Things can get broken in the mail if they're, fragile. There's all kinds of problems that you run into. So he was like stacking problem after problem just because of the way that he structured the business. And like 20 minutes in, dude's like, "Why don't you just buy the business off me and run it?" And I'm like, "Dude, you fucking hate this. Why would I buy it off you? I have no interest in this, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm telling you what you need to do, to like pivot and restructure yourself. But they're so ego invested with the idea. It's like, well, I saw this other guy that was selling trinkets and men's jewelry, and
Yep.
he was making a fortune. So, I just want to do that. And it's like, but you don't even like it. Like, do you even wear men's jewelry? Do you even like the business that you're running? And it's like, no, 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 no. It's like, okay, well, let's start talking about ways to fix that. And if you don't want to fix it, then that's cool too. I appreciate you booking my time.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Like, you really have to be passionate about what you're doing.
And you have to be
If
good at it too.
And good, both, right? And it's like, I mean, I get lost in what I'm doing with research and figuring stuff out, figuring out better ways. And I have had all this training that I really didn't even look at as something I would monetize in persuasion and stuff like that. When I was in real estate, my real passion was training other guys how to sell
Hmm.
and connect with customers, connect with clients. And so that was like my real passion. But like my passion for selling a house and dealing with clients' neurotic problems, bleh, bleh, you know what I mean? It wasn't there. But see, what it is it ends up becoming a sunk cost. And
Yeah.
it's like, and you challenge that in the beginning in a few of those Zoom calls that we had done. It's like, is this really what or your passion is, what you could get lost, we could get lost doing? And the answer was no, and it was just, but it's a sunk cost. I'm building this thing. I see somebody else who built this thing and who does really well. And I know I could, he's not better than me. I could do that too, but so what? It's not something
Yeah.
I'm crazy about or
You
whatever,
see this all the
right?
time, though. I mean, like you've probably noticed this as well, I'm sure. And if you haven't, you're going to start to notice it now that I'm going to mention it. But there's a lot of people that like carbon copy others, right? Like Gary Vaynerchuk has created an entire niche of guys wearing like falling off the back of your head beanies and like hoodies and yelling in their phone,
Yeah.
odd hours of the day. There's other guys that completely mimic, certain verbiage and like language of other guys that have an audience or a following or, some trust on social media. And it's like, are you actually doing anything, or are you just copying the behaviors of another person? Because you're not, like, by copying somebody that's wealthy doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be wealthy, right? Like, you're just basically supporting that, right? It's like a lot of people
Yeah.
support this look, by the way, bald head and beard. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
that popular a few years ago, but there's a
You
lot
got
of
some
guys.
clones, man.
I got some clones, man. I got some clones. There's a lot of bald-headed, bearded guys now that are like, cloning that sort of thing. But,
Oh yeah.
or doing videos in their car, for example. A little bit of R&D there while they're driving, sort of thing. You
Yeah.
get the idea, though. But it's like, are you actually executing? Are you actually making the money? And that's what I really, wanted to cut down right to with the course, was like showing you how to do all those things properly, and more importantly, things that you need to stay away from, things that are going to be distractions, things that aren't going to lead you to a business that's going to be easy and fun and lucrative.
Yeah. No, it's good. And it was a friend of mine, plus being in getting your coaching, that really pushed me to doing what I'm doing. And it scaled out to, you know, probably, well, thousands of people at this point that I've done either, through consults or just, email consults, or just helping them with their issues.
Racks up
And
fast.
yeah, it racks up tremendously fast, and it's just so incredible. But it was a friend of mine who, we had a little, like, kind of just a little local men's group among friends. It was like four of us. It was myself, two other business owners, and then one was like a younger guy who was kind of getting a start, but he's a pretty cool guy. And it ended up being dealing with girl problems, because that seems to be a problem that guys have. And then that turned into kind of the Paul show of helping them with their girl problems. And my friend goes, dude, this is your gift, man. Like, if you can, you need to figure this out. He goes, the real estate thing's cool. I get it. You're making money, but this is the thing you need to figure out. And then you were paramount in helping me figure that out,
Mm-hmm.
and it still are. So it's good. And that's why I'm promoting, and it's the link is in the chat. And I see a couple of like questions, like general questions
Throw them up
in
if you want.
yeah. So, and I don't, one is, if you guys have questions, throw it in the chat, throw it in the super even, so that I get, but I'm going to kind of rebuke like some of you guys with some of the stuff. Like, it's like, all right, like, and I'm not trying to be a dick here on this guy, but it's like, okay, we appreciate some marketing techniques. All right, here's the thing on this. I'm just going to say, you tell me what you think, Rich, and if I'm
Mm-hmm.
off base, you let me know. But here's what I think about stuff like this. It's like you're asking for free advice on a show on the internet, to be able to, what techniques is gonna come out of anyone's asshole to try to, that's going to scale your business in any sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking. There's no investment, and the problem is, I'm sure you can answer this question, but there's no investment necessarily on this guy's part. So a lot of these things, you give advice and people just don't do anything about it. Get into the course and do the damn course, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, you'll solve this problem yourself and figure out how to solve it and where to go with it by getting the course and figuring it out. You know what I mean? Or booking some time. And if you want a serious answer to a question like this, that's going to scale your business, you need to invest in that answer, because nobody is going to want to just give you an answer that you're not going to follow, quite frankly, if you're not invested. So when I ask for questions, I'm thinking more general questions on what's going to kind of, help a guy out of curiosity or whatever. But this to me is like, I don't know that this guy is going to actually do anything, even if we spent the next 15 minutes on marketing techniques. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. What do you think about it? But
There's an old saying that you'll hear if you do forums or you join a group like Entrepreneurs Org, in those meetings, and they say, if you're not paying, then you're not paying attention, right? There's a
yeah,
lot of guys that will ask for advice on stuff and then they won't do anything with it. And it's like, okay, well, if you're running a business and you're trying to establish better marketing protocols that are going to get you to the reach that you want, why don't you just spend $1,000 and grab the course, right?
right.
Support
Right,
your favorite
exactly.
creator, Paul, and grab the course and get all the information and hop in on the Zoom calls and all sort of stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot to, discuss when it comes to marketing because I've done TV ads, radio ads, pay-per-click marketing, pay-per-view marketing, newspaper placements, email lists. I think that fax broadcasting, I even did it one time, when it was effective and lucrative. So it all depends on the niche that you're in. But I can tell you right now, I spend $0 on marketing today. With the exception of like service providers that I need to pay for, like Active Campaign, for an email list, for
Yeah.
example, which is like not very expensive at all. In fact, I think you can use it for free if your list is under 1,000 or something like that, or maybe 5,000. I don't know, but I don't spend any money on marketing at all. And there were times where I was spending like 30, 35, $40,000 a month on marketing when I was running my debt business. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, the ROI on that is a lot lower than the way that I run things right now. And in the module on marketing, I talk about the differences between the two, how to maximize on one or the other, and why I do things today without spending any marketing money.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. And it's, I guess my thing is, if you are specifically wanting advice on your specific business and on how to scale a certain thing, they need to buy your course, get the mindset of which direction to go, and then start looking at the specialized things. Like I start, looking at some marketing books and some different things that are out there that help me directly with my business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Versus like that's the way to go about it. When I say questions, like ask questions, this is the kind of question that I'm talking about, right? Like this is
Ernesto, yeah,
more.
he's a good guy. I know him. He follows my channel too.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's great. And so yeah, but these are the kind of questions I'm thinking about, because like this is a if he wanted specific, if Ernesto needed specific marketing help, he needs to go to a marketing guy, pay for his time, or pay for that book or product to learn about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or get on your stuff. If he needs specific help with starting a business or running his business better, the link's in the chat to buy your course. But this is a good one. So I mean, what do you think is what's your opinion, Rich? What do you think is the best way a guy can invest in himself
Well,
professionally and personally?
when you say schooling aside, that's basically putting that near the top. And I can tell you right now, like, unless you need a professional designation to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a trades guy, school is a waste of your time, generally speaking, if you're a guy, especially if you want to run a business. I mean, the people that teach you in school, from my experience, are not great at what they're teaching, right? They're just regurgitating lectures that they have to give you based on curriculum, and then they infuse in some woke bullshit, kind of like, throughout all of it, and make you put pronouns in your bio or something like that. So never let school get in the way of your education. I'll sum it up that way. I think the best
Nice.
way that you can invest in yourself professionally and personally is surround yourself with like-minded winners. Okay. I'm not talking about the posers that are out there, and you should be able to differentiate, between the two. I'm talking about the guys that are actually doing the work, leveling themselves up, making something of themselves, and they're going to hold you accountable to what it is that, the standards are within that group or that community. I mean, if you want a community around business and creating a business, there's a private community that I have built around that's, tied into the course as well, right? So you're going to get membership to my private Facebook group. You can shop it up amongst the other members. If you have something that comes up, you can tag me in a post and I'll see it. You can hop in on the monthly Zoom calls, and we can answer questions on stuff that you're stuck on. It's really putting yourself in a better room. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I see a lot of dudes today still doing this, where they'll hang out in rooms where it's like they're the smartest guy in there, and they're hanging out with a bunch of dumbasses. Maybe it makes them feel good, or maybe they feel bad because they want to try to bring them up, sort of thing. But you need to get into a better room. And sometimes you have to buy your way into a room, AKA, buying your way into a conference, for example, and meeting other people, or a mastermind, buying your way into a course like this where all the material's been organized for you. Who was it? Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, it's always cheaper to learn from the mistakes of others. You'll never live long enough to make them all yourself, something along that line.
Yeah.
That's what, communities and groups are good for. And the best ones you're going to have to pay for. It's just a reality of life. I mean, a lot of people are entitled today, thinking that they should just get it all for free, because they sit down and they log into YouTube and they skip ad and they watch, a piece of content, and they've been, conditioned to get shit for free now. And it's like, no, the best material that you're going to get is going to be behind a paywall 100% of the time. It's also going to be sanitized and distilled down to the most useful stuff, so you don't have to go through hours and hours of extra bullshit.
Oh, that right there is huge value. I mean, gosh, and talking about, even like combatives training, or, fighting sports, martial arts types training, anything like, I like this as an example, because there's so many things you can do and train, but finding a good instructor that cuts through the BS and gives you what exactly you need for your self-defense problems, given your circumstances, in a very short amount of time, worth its weight in gold. 100%. And same thing with entrepreneurship.
Like I used to do group training at the dojo, right? And I could do group training for Krav Maga, for boxing, and there's a bunch of other people there. And I got a taste of one-on-one training during COVID. I'm not going to get into the details, but I managed to do a couple months of like a one-on-one. And it's like, and then when the owner said, well, do you want to continue with this? I'm like, absolutely. And he said, okay, well, cool. Then I have to book you in, on private training. I'm like, well, how much is that? It was like 5 times more than I was paying regularly, monthly. I'm like, fine, I'll pay for it. Like, whatever it costs, I'll pay for it. Right. And I had my trainer, come up to our retreat last week, and, you met him, right?
Yeah. He's a cool dude, man.
He's awesome, right? He's really good. And he's even better one-on-one. Like, he's good with groups, but he's way better one-on-one. So I learned so much more, so much faster. So you just accelerate the learning curve.
Oh yeah. It's like you pay 5 times more, but you're getting 20 times the return on that investment. It's so
you
important.
can never make more time. Time is finite, right? Like, you can always make more money, you can make more friends, you can make better friends, you can improve your wealth, but you can never make more time. Whatever you're given is what you got, right? So It is probably the most valuable currency today.
Oh, absolutely. And it's understand too, to the audience, it's not a lack of effort on your part or my part. Like, we put in, I'll give everything I can give on a YouTube video. I'll give away the farm as much as I can, but I can only do it to a general audience, and it can only be general information. Correct. If somebody needs, so a person is only going to get a portion of the answers they're looking for, whether it's figuring out women and relationships, whether it's figuring out their business and entrepreneurship and building that, that way of making that dent in the universe. Like, there's only so much you can get with free generalized stuff. You have to get into some sort of community course behind a paywall where someone can spend the time on you as an individual, in some context, to help you dial into your stuff, or you're just not getting. You can get part way there, but you just can't get all the way there, at least not with a lot of time, trial and error, and pain, and really more of an expense. Like, you're going to spend more money and waste more time and go through more pain by not dialing yourself in and just, getting into that program, course, one-on-one consult, whatever it is, to get your individual problem figured out. I'm going to take a quick break, do a little word from the sponsors here, and we'll come back about 2 minutes.
Your success with women literally boils down to one thing. When you have this one thing, all of your troubles disappear, and you start having amazing experiences that most men can only dream of. And that's the good news. But the bad news is, if you don't have it, nothing else will work. All of the money, good looks, advice on the internet, and all of the best pickup and game skills out there will fail without you mastering this one thing. And that one thing is frame. Develop the skills in establishing and keeping frame, and everything else follows. That is the big secret. And the good news is, I can teach you all you need to know about it. The answers to ending your pain and suffering and to start living an amazing life with women is just one click away. After this video, click on the link in the description to schedule a free consult to see if you are a good fit. And then you and I can work together on finally getting you to start living the life with women that most men can only dream of. Are you tired of your face being weak and beta and everyone always wanting to punch it? Well, there's not much I can do about that, but maybe Chad's face scrub can help. It has been crafted for men with all natural ingredients, and without the nasty testosterone disrupting chemicals that will eventually turn you into a little man girl. So, whether you need to take a punch or steal someone's girlfriend, or just stay fresh as you go through the rigors of daily life as a man, Chad's is your brand. Order from my link in the video description to help support the channel.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I haven't seen that yet. That fucking made me crack up. That's a great ad.
That's great. It's my favorite ad.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
got up my game. That was hilarious.
Yeah. That's right. You gotta get rid of that beta face, man. Get some Chad's face scrub. Anyway.
Yes.
Good stuff. All right. So we had interesting. I had a guy at a military question. I thought it was good.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Sit through my physicals. All right. So here is 2 parts, and so he's got this one. Okay. So, well, that's not the part I looked at before. I don't know what we're looking at. There's all kinds of stuff. So he's planning. Okay. So I'm tired of being controlled by the military and the toxic egos. How do I plan my exit? And then we're going to scroll down to this part, which is I would also like to stay in the military at the same time because I passed the SIFT and just need to complete my physicals. I just need to know right now. I'm not financially ready to leave. So some thoughts. So this dude's in the military. You see this a lot. I mean, I was in the same position. I'll give my commentary as a military guy, and then Rich, you can, tell me what your thoughts are on it too. But the military is you got to look at it as something that you're going to give a part of yourself to get something out of it, and then you need to know when to walk away from it. I mean, that's the way that I look at it. Some people may want to build that career, and that's what they like to do, and that's fine. But they own your ass, when you're there to a degree. It's just part of it, and it's a trade-off, and you can get a lot of skills from it. It can give you a start in some things if you know how to save your money and stuff like that. But it is a sunk cost too, as far as money is concerned, because you're going to spend more time for them than what you're going to be worth on an hourly or pay level. They will take more than what they're giving you monetarily, but you may get skill sets, you may get some soft skills, leadership skills, and depending on what you're going into, like, whether it's, let's say, contracting, or maybe you're building the widgets that military, and getting military contracts for your company. Like there was a guy who was a client of mine who I sent him your way. I don't know if he ever went that direction for some help, because he had bought out a company and he was struggling to make connections within the military to sell what they make. You know what I mean? And it was basically tools for mechanics, maintenance, and maintenance tools, right? And so there's like all kinds of things that you can get from it, but you just got to look at cost benefit analysis, and am I going to, what do I expect to get from this? And I know I'm going to give a part of myself to do it. They will take more than what I'm going to get to a degree, and so I need to know when to get out. And so I made a decision to get out because of family and because of age. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew I had other things to kind of accomplish, and going down the career military route just wasn't going to be for me. So for me, I stepped out into working more in a National Guard sense. So I still do that. And, you can build to your retirement, get your healthcare taken care of. It gives you connections, it gets you a start. But ultimately, you got to start to plan your exit plan, save your money, and figure out what you're going to do, even if it's in a general sense, before going and take the risk. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it. What do you got from that, Rich? Like,
I don't know how old he is, but it says up here that he's getting tired of being controlled by the military and the toxic egos, and he follows up and says that he's not financially sorted. So it's like, complicate life, justify why. I want to get out. I hate it. It's not working for me. I don't like the toxic people, but I don't have enough money to do that. So what? Like, you're just going to keep treading water?
Yeah.
Right? Swim to the boat and get out of the water. sort of things. Swim to the shore and get out of the water, or you can keep treading the water, right? Like nobody's going to do it for you.
Right,
So it's
right.
29. Like at 29, you're running out of time, dude. Like if you were 23, then I'd say okay, take
Yeah.
your time, get your money sorted. But at 29, I get to move on with it.
Yep. Yep. And so how would so this guy, he's going to cut ties at some point, maybe not re-up his next contract or whatever.
Well, he's not doing the 20 years to retirement thing, right?
Well,
Not
no,
at 29.
if he
Yeah.
gets out now, no, I don't know how long he's been in for, but again, he can it's always a trade-off. He can go join local National Guard somewhere, put in, I don't know what his MOS is either, and what his job is, but he can put in a lot less time. Now you still could be deployed places and stuff like that, but that's your risk at that is like every 3 to 4 years. Now, if there's, of course, there's instability out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we get into World War III tomorrow, you're probably going as a guard guy. But I mean, you can basically pace out your time a lot easier in the guard and then focus on your purpose. And that still gives him like healthcare and some semblance of an income. He can jump into training cycles or volunteer for stuff and get paid by them if he gets in a bind. So there's that. You can use that as sort of if you don't want to let go of the benefits that you have available to you after 20 years, you've already put in, let's say 11 years, you can ride out the rest of that time in the guard for 9 years if you want. And maybe that's an answer to do a short-term guard contract because it doesn't sound like he knows what he wants to do. I think that's the biggest thing is this guy needs to figure out what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, look, the one good thing that comes out of being in the military is you should be disciplined as fuck, right? Okay. Now, can you harness that and redirect it somewhere to make yourself some money? A lot of guys that I know that run their own business used to be in the military, and it's only because they were so disciplined, right? It's like,
yeah,
the problem with being a military guy, like I'll tell you straight up right now, is what one of the skills that you need to develop as an entrepreneur. I talk about it in a few of the modules as well, is you have to be able to solve problems because that's what running a business is. Like your business, like we can talk about it, it's like, how do you contact your customers? How do you deliver the course material? How does your guy do the consults to assess if they're going to be a good fit? Like there's all these problems that come up along the way that you have to solve, right? And I think one of the problems that you end up in the military is you're told not to think. You're told to just, these are the instructions, follow. So if you can take the discipline and add some pepper in some problem solving skills to that, you're going to be a weapon, man. You just have to give yourself permission to go and do it. Like stop fucking around. Stop waiting for permission. Just go do it.
Right. Well, we got another comment from Steven here, and this is where we can yell at him now live on the air. So he says, I would prefer to go to Flight Warrant for the change of environment and the skill set I can get. It's a 10-year commitment, which would put you right up to 20, so that would actually work. Though I've had, here's the thing. I've had my head up my ass wondering why I can't keep a girlfriend. Okay. And this is
your wheelhouse, man. Why don't you just take care of this? I'm just taking my breath.
Yeah,
this is all military stuff. Go.
Yeah, bro. Look, the magic of this thing is when you stop focusing on keeping a girlfriend, magically girls start wanting to be kept by you. Mm-hmm. And start qualifying to you because you start making yourself better and your sexual market value goes up, and that's what your focus is on. And so then they start making themselves want to be a part of that. And then you have a new set of problems, which is how do I not get trapped by the wrong chick, and how do I next and say no versus how do I chase after this good girl to try to keep her around and get her to be my girlfriend. The reason for my stuff, the frame course that I have, the frame and seduction course, it's a year long, is because guys need to jump into your 1% community. They need to learn how to scale their lives and do better, but they have shit like this that holds them back. You know what I mean? And so learning how to let go of women that don't serve you and learning how to handle women in such a way where they don't get in the way of what you're trying to do is a whole entire skill set. That's what frame is. It's not about pickup and necessarily getting the girl, although some guys need to work on that. right? Because they're just not good at handling women and being attractive to women and getting girls on dates. So yeah, that's a skill set to learn. But once a guy learns these skill sets, how to get the girls, how to pick the ones without the red flags, and then how to keep them around and stuff, and to do so effortlessly, that opens up all their effort and time to do what they should be doing, which is figuring out warrant officer school, going in off and being a pilot, or being a flight warrant, which is a pretty badass job, by the way. It's one of the best warrants.
What does a flight warrant do?
So there's different ones, and I'm not up on it, but you can fly helicopters. Like a lot of your pilots are captains or they're warrants, or you're dealing with the mechanics, and you're specializing in specific aircrafts and stuff. And it gives you a really dialed in specialty, like where it's an irreplaceable kind of a thing. If you're a warrant officer, like nobody tells you what to do pretty much, because
you know what's
you're
funny?
that
The guy wants to hold himself to higher standards, right? Like he wants to make more money, he wants to be in a different role.
Right.
And then he's asking, why can't I keep the girl, right? And it's like, okay, well, do you have a high opinion of yourself? Do you hold yourself to higher standards? Do you hold women to your standards? Can you set boundaries? Do you know what frame is? Like this to guys like us comes naturally now. Like we get it. It's just like whatever, it's not even hard. But I mean, like you have to get yourself to the point by doing the work, right? Like, get your head around what it is that women respond to, get your head around what it is you want to do with your life, right? I mean, do you want to stay in the military? Do you want to get out? Like, what is it?
Yeah. Well, and it's hard because guys need to chase excellence and not worry about this stuff. But I've kind of looked at, like, there's 3 things that will hold a guy back from doing that. It's almost like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, but it's kind of, for just becoming the alpha version. One is, if a guy isn't at least able to defend himself or protect himself, he's going to always have insecurities. Doesn't mean he needs to be the toughest guy in the room, but a man needs to know how to defend himself. Number 2 is a man needs to be physically fit and mentally fit so that he could survive. So, hey, if there's an emergency, he's survivable. A guy who's not fit mentally, physically, I'm just talking about resiliency and being a bit in shape, he's going to be held back from chasing excellence, doing anything. And that 3rd thing is the reproductive problem, like knowing how to solve that and having their head around that so they don't get completely derailed by girlfriend problems or toxic women, because our chimp brain wants us to mate and solve that problem before it wants us to create an amazing business that earns $10 million a year.
So Steven's got another comment there. It says, my dumbass problem is I select women like my mom because I have mommy issues. So the last chick, I told her some red flags I'll accept if she displays the ability to take accountability. I love it when guys think that they can get women to take ownership and work on herself, I think is what that's supposed to say. It says Herschel, but like, dude, you have a ways to go. Like, have you read my book? Have you watched a bunch of Paul's videos? Like simply vetting for red flags and not inviting a woman with red flags into your life is all you need to do. You don't like find a chick with red flags and she's waving them as she comes over. She's like, hey, Steve, what's going on? Invite me into your life. Bring me in. And you're like, hold on, bitch. I like you're hot, but we gotta deal with these red flags, right? The guy that's got his life together, he doesn't even let her into his life. She's a plate, maybe. She's a friends with benefits. That's it. When she's like, oh my God, Steve, I can't make my rent and I have a problem and my boss is an asshole. It's like, you're not taking those calls, right? You just don't allow that to happen, man.
Yeah.
Read the book again. He says he read it. Read it again and read it again and read it again. Read it 5 times if you have to. Start there.
Right. Yeah. So now that's the thing. And I'm going to do a really good analogy. It's one of my favorite analogies. I use it all the time. It has nothing to do with women, but it applies so well. It's some primatologists were talking about, why chimpanzees and gorillas can't, conceptualize language. And the guy said, we can teach a gorilla or a chimp, number of different words to word associate, but they can't conceptualize a language and communicate. And then he says, but that should be of no surprise, because if they were capable of conceptualizing a language, then they would already be doing it. And I went, what? Light bulb, right? That right there describes your red flag chapter, why it's so important. If the chick is capable of being a good partner, she would already, I gotta flash this comment. She would already, yes, do that, please. Choke yourself. Choke yourself, Steven. At least this sense of humor about it. But yeah, she would already be doing it, man. She would already be doing the things that would make her a good girlfriend to you. If you have to get in it with her and hope she works on herself to change it, how old is she? 28, 27? Is she, if she's above the age of 21, which I'm sure she is, that means she's had 21 years or more than that to work on herself enough to be a good match for somebody. And if she's not that, now I'm not saying she's doomed on her individual side of it, but that's not your responsibility. 28. So she has 28 years to work on herself and be girlfriend material, and she's not. So that's somebody that you don't bring in, right? It's up to her to handle her problems. And this is why, like, literally just following the red flag chapter solves so many problems. Because guess what? I got guys in my seduction and frame, mastermind group who have relationships. They have girls who don't meet those red flags, and they're still leveling the relationships up, overcoming things about themselves, working on themselves and the other. Oh my God, he's got so many things going on. This guy, oh bro, come on, man. Oh, what are you doing here? Her ex is still in the picture. So yeah, dude. So like, listen, my point is, like, it is relationships.
Red flag number 5: keeping men from her past around. Like how many red flags do you need to get slapped with, dude? Like, come on.
Right. And so with a functional girl who doesn't match those red flags, building a relationship is work. It should be good work, not painful work, but that has no reward at the end. But it's like what Rich does here with business, right? He's not getting involved in something that has such a low ROI or potential for failure, right? He looks at it and goes, man, if the ROI is not going to be there, I'm not putting my time into it. And that's kind of like picking a chick, right? Because it's going to take some work, man, for her to come into your frame and for you guys to get to where you want, even if she is a good chick. And you'll have to learn skills and things about yourself. And so that's the thing on that. So I'm going to say about that. But I mean, look into my mastermind group if it's something for you, because dude, you got, or even just booking a consult where we can unravel what is going on trauma wise and within your unconscious mind that is attaching you to toxic women. Because you know the answer. You already read Rich's book. You already know what not to do, and you're doing it. You're attracted to it like a moth just going to the freaking candle and getting lit on fire. So that tells me there's some limits you have, bro, and that's something that we would have to work on. And then maybe you'll be a good candidate for Rich's community later without getting just ridiculed every day because you make a dumb decision.
I gotta run in a few minutes, dude. This is like, oh my God, this guy's like just destroying his life and just arguing with why he wants to destroy it with himself in the comments.
Yeah.
I gotta run a few minutes. I gotta take a call that I just took a booking on. The course is open right now for enrollment. It closes on the 30th, which is tomorrow at midnight. Yep. So if you want to get in now. Paul's got a link there for you. It supports him and his channel. The material is top shelf. You can take a look at the landing page. It has the lectures in there. It has exactly what you're going to get. It includes a private Facebook group. It also includes monthly Zoom webinars. All the students will have access to the material for life, and you'll have access to the private Facebook group until the end of the year. I don't know when I'm going to reopen the course again. I'll definitely reopen it again in the future. So if you want in, now's the time to do it. Again, it closes tomorrow on the 30th.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Rich, thanks so much for coming on and chopping it up, man. That's awesome. I find out laughing at this stuff. Yeah, the stuff I deal with, man, it's like, you're like, oh, I don't have patience for this, which is good. Maybe I'll
get my head against the wall.
Right. But no, it was
Did you ever see that meme, with the box of red flags? I posted in the 1%. Like, you saw it there when Jason was talking about that issue. It's like the box is clearly marked with what it has in it. It says red flags, and there's a pile of red flags in it. It's like, it's clearly marked with what it has, but I'm going to date it anyway for the next 6 years, right? It's like, that's your choice, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, man, it was great. And to everybody watching, I did have a chance to start. I've gotten through a few of the first modules, It's awesome. I mean, it's exactly the kinds of stuff that helped me in the beginning of me changing my way of thinking to be able to work and scale a business to help out tons of people and to do really well with it. And so I challenge you guys to jump on, get the course before they close it Saturday night, which is tomorrow night. And man, I'll see you guys over in the forum if you're there.
Yeah, Paul's in there,
So,
so
yep.
we'll see you guys all on the calls if you hop in.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Well, thanks, man. All right, everybody. Thanks for logging in. I'll see you guys till next time.